Hey guys, tonight we're heading somewhere warm. No, not a tropical resort with fruity drinks and Wi-Fi. I mean warm. Jungle warm. Welcome to the Maya lowlands, where the humidity clings to your skin like a wet blanket that's mad at you for some reason, and the mosquitoes are more organized than most modern governments. You wake up in a palm-thatched hut in the heart of Tikal. The sun's barely risen, but it's already hot enough to make your kneecaps sweat. Birds are screaming, not chirping, screaming. Somewhere nearby, a howler monkey sounds like a demon doing vocal warm-ups. And you're supposed to start your day as an ordinary Maya citizen. Spoiler alert, you're not ready. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments below. I want to know which time zones I'm lulling to sleep, or confusing completely. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. Let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your bed is just a woven mat, but somehow your spine feels like it lost a negotiation overnight. You sit up and instantly regret not being born into a noble family with better thread count and zero expectations to haul things uphill. As you step outside, the jungle greets you with a smell of damp earth, wood smoke, and something faintly spicy. Probably copal resin burning nearby, or someone preparing a tole, a hot corn drink that's surprisingly comforting until you remember. Corn is basically your entire diet now. The air is thick enough to chew. You look around. Mud brick homes curve gently along stone walkways. Everyone's already moving, sweeping, grinding maize, hauling firewood, adjusting elaborate headdresses like it's no big deal. Even the kids are busy. No one's on a scroll break. You've already fallen behind. Your host family, you're still not sure how you ended up staying with them, greets you with kind smiles and a breakfast that's part meal, part ritual. They offer you atole and a thick, doughy tamal wrapped in banana leaf. You take a bite. It's hot, dense, and feels like it's trying to tell you something about your dental insurance. Before you can ask whether there's coffee, someone gestures to the sky and begins reciting what sounds like a poetic weather report. Apparently, the position of the sun in the sky means today is an eek day, associated with wind, breath, and possibly minor catastrophes involving roof tiles. You nod solemnly. You have no idea what's happening. Then comes the calendar lesson. There are two calendars, by the way. One is a 260-day sacred cycle called Tzolk'in, which tracks ceremonial days and births. The other is the 365-day Harb, more like your standard year, except divided into 18 months of 20 days each, with a weird 5-day dead zone at the end. You're told that day names matter more than birthdays. And depending on yours, you might be destined to become a warrior, healer, or professional maze counter. You're a Khan born on a Kankin day, apparently. That means you're destined for mild confusion and probably back pain. The sky brightens. The city is fully alive now. Someone taps you on the shoulder. Time to head to the central plaza. This is the heart of the city. A grand open space surrounded by stepped pyramids, causeways, and temples that seem to claw at the sky. The stone under your feet is warm already. Sweat drips down your back. You pass by a group of men carefully painting glyphs onto bark paper scrolls. The writing is beautiful. Loops and curls shaped like animals, gods, and the occasional abstract concept like time is a jaguar eating itself. You try reading one and give up somewhere around the third stylized eyeball. A young scribe pats your arm and says something in a soft, amused tone. You're 80% sure it was. It's okay, outsider. Even we don't get all of it. Suddenly, a drum beat echoes across the plaza. People hush. A line of priests dressed in jaguar pelts and brilliant feathers appears near one of the temples. They carry bundles wrapped in cloth and obsidian blades tucked into their belts. You lean over to ask what's going on, and someone whispers, "Morning offering." Ah, you expected incense. Instead, it involves bloodletting. A nobleman steps forward, expression calm. He sits, takes a stingray spine. Yes, stingray, and pricks his tongue. Blood drips onto a piece of bark, which is then burned as an offering. The smoke curls upward, supposedly carrying messages to the gods. You suddenly feel very squeamish about your paper cut from 2 days ago. No one screams, no one flinches. This is sacred. This is normal. A small boy watches the whole thing with awe. You're trying not to faint. But here's the wild part. This wasn't a sacrifice. This was self-sacrifice, a daily connection to the divine. And as unsettling as it is, it's also kind of beautiful. Pain as offering, blood as conversation. You glance down at your own hands and wonder what your daily devotion looks like. Scrolling endlessly, ignoring calendar invites. You're snapped out of your reverie when someone hands you a small cup of cacao. Dark, bitter, thick as thought. It jolts you awake like a philosophical slap in the face. You're invited to sit in a shaded pavilion just for a moment. And as you do, the city breathes around you. Stone and steam, birdsong and whisper, myth and mathematics. You've survived your first Maya morning. Sort of. Just don't ask what comes after lunch. You're not even halfway through digesting your tamal when someone taps your shoulder and points toward the main temple. There's a look in their eyes. Part reverence, part, you should really see this before your next life. And so you follow. The air thickens as you approach the steps of Temple Wama, an imposing stone pyramid that makes modern buildings look like they're trying too hard. You crane your neck to see the top, where a ceremonial platform waits under the unblinking sun. The drums have started again. Low, slow, heartbeat-thick thuds that seem to vibrate in your rib cage. You're not entirely sure what's about to happen, but let's just say that when the crowd falls silent, your anxiety does the opposite. You're ushered into a shaded area where other visitors, noble, common, possibly time-displaced like yourself, have gathered to witness the day's main event, a ritual bloodletting ceremony. Not to worry, you're probably not the target. This time. A priest appears, tall and lean, draped in quetzal feathers and turquoise beads that clink with every movement. His face is painted with swirling reds and blacks, his expression unreadable beneath centuries of tradition. He holds aloft a bowl of burning copal resin, and the smoke coils like silk in the heat. He begins to chant. His voice isn't loud, but it doesn't need to be. It seems to rise up from the stone itself, echoing without echo, folding into the heartbeat of the drums like another layer of time. You shift uneasily. Someone beside you leans in and whispers, "He's asking the gods to listen." And they do. Or so everyone seems to believe. Because the moment the obsidian blade is revealed, the entire crowd shifts into stillness. Today's ritual offering comes from a noble volunteer, a man perhaps no older than 30, face calm, chest bare, hands steady. He kneels. The priest steps forward and with practiced grace slices the man's earlobe. Blood spills onto a piece of cloth. Then another cut, a shallow line across the forearm, not fatal, Not even deep, but precise, reverent. The blood-soaked cloth is placed in the fire. As it burns, the smoke turns slightly blue. You're told this means the gods are pleased. You're less concerned about divine opinion and more impressed the man hasn't flinched once. You've cried at paper cuts. This guy's making blood offerings look like yoga class. A group of children seated nearby watches in wide-eyed silence. One of them, probably no older than 8, wears a jaguar tooth necklace and clutches a small clay idol. When the priest lifts his arms in triumph, the children clap softly. You hesitate, then join in. It feels right, or at least safer. Now comes the part no one warned you about. The crowd turns to you. Someone smiles and gestures toward a bundle of maguey thorns and a thin strip of bark cloth. You laugh nervously. They don't. Apparently, outsiders sometimes participate. Not the full ceremony, just a symbolic prick on the finger, a gesture of humility, connection, respect. You try to decline, but 5 pairs of very encouraging hands are already guiding you forward. You kneel. Your legs wobble like wet tortillas. Someone hands you a small thorn, cleaned, thankfully, and a square of bark paper. You take a breath, and then do it. The sting is sharp but brief. A bead of blood swells, drops onto the paper. Someone takes it, places it into a side brazier. A puff of smoke rises. You've just spoken, however awkwardly, to the gods of the Maya. No thunder, no visions, just an odd calm. Like you've tuned into a frequency that's always been there, humming under the world. You return to your seat. The ceremony ends. People begin to disperse, murmuring prayers and jokes and the occasional commentary on the weather. A vendor nearby resumes selling tamales. A woman balances a basket of chili peppers on her head with unsettling grace. And you just gave blood to a pantheon you met 10 minutes ago. You glance at your finger. The tiny puncture is already scabbing, but something deeper itched now. A sense that this civilization doesn't just believe in the divine. They live with it. It walks beside them in every cut of stone, every puff of smoke, every drop of blood. And today, you walked with it too. Just don't expect a bandage, or applause, or understanding. Only the jungle breeze, and the feeling that you just added a line to a story carved in stone. You're back at the plaza. Your blood ceremony is behind you, but your breakfast is somehow still with you, sitting in your stomach like it's debating whether to be digested or start a revolution. A young girl walks past carrying a bundle of maize stalks twice her size. She glances at you and says something that you think is, "You look pale," though it may have been, "You look like maize." Honestly, either could be true. But before you can recover fully, physically, emotionally, spiritually, a cheerful man in a feathered wrap waves you over to a flat open courtyard. "Time to observe the sun," he says, as if that's a completely normal follow-up to minor blood loss. You are now a guest of the city's daykeepers, a class of specialized astronomer priests who track the skies, predict seasonal shifts, and determine when it's appropriate to plant, marry, or start wars. You know, the usual Google Calendar stuff. They hand you a long stick and gesture toward a slab of stone etched with glyphs and what looks suspiciously like math. A shadow creeps across the markings. "You see where it lands?" the priest asks. You nod, squinting. Between the jaguar head and the flailing lizard." He claps. "Exactly. That means today is the 4th day of the Kankin month, and also a good day to avoid major decisions or particularly crunchy tortillas. You're not sure how they got all that from a shadow, but honestly, you've built IKEA furniture with less clarity. As the sun rises, the courtyard becomes a sundial of sacred proportions. Each marker, each notch, each carved tooth of stone tells the story of a civilization so in tune with the cosmos that they practically live inside it. You're asked to lie flat on the warm limestone, part tradition, part practical demonstration. The stone is hot, but not unpleasant. The sky above you pulses with blue, pierced only by the sun and the occasional vulture who seems to be circling with just a little too much interest. "Tell me," the priest asks, "what shape is time?" You blink. Circular?" He beams. "Yes, but also spiral, like a snake biting its own tail, coiled and moving." This is not the first time today you've been outclassed in a philosophical conversation by someone wearing sandals made of palm fiber. You're shown the E-groups, specialized architectural alignments used to track solstices and equinoxes. "They built this before metal tools," the priest says casually, gesturing to a 15-ton stone perfectly aligned with the rising sun. You nod slowly. Meanwhile, your modern self once spent 20 minutes trying to get the microwave clock to stop blinking. A boy brings you a second helping of breakfast, hot tortillas with squash puree and chia leaves. You accept it with the reverence of someone who just learned their digestive fate is tied to the moon phase. You eat while watching the daykeepers draw glyphs on bark paper with sharpened obsidian dipped in soot ink. Their hands move fast, assured. The symbols look like art, but you're told they're numbers, part of a base 20 math system. "Why base 20? You ask. The priest grins and holds up both hands and both feet. "Ah," you say, "toes." He nods solemnly. You suddenly feel guilty for all the times you judged someone's toe math. Nearby, a younger apprentice hands you a practice scroll. You try drawing a glyph that allegedly means sunrise over Sacred Hill. Yours ends up looking like a crying turtle stuck in a tree. The apprentice leans over, stares at it for a moment, then says, "Well, it's expressive." You're promoted to silent observer. As the noon heat approaches, the city grows quieter. Shadows retreat under stone awnings, and the plaza takes on a shimmering quality, like the air itself is exhaling. A few people nap in the shade. Others share hushed stories about past eclipses, when the sun vanished and the world held its breath. You're told that once, during a solar eclipse, warriors refused to move. Birds stopped singing, and even the jaguars crouched low in their dens. Because, they say, the gods were watching closely then. You look up at the sky, now blinding and vast, and try not to feel like a very small tortilla in the cosmic kitchen. By the time you return to the central plaza, your shoulders are sun-kissed, your scroll is crumpled, and your understanding of time has been lovingly disassembled and rebuilt sideways. You thought the Maya just tracked the stars. You didn't realize they danced with them. And now, in a day that's only half over, you're starting to feel like the ancient world might be trying to tell you something. You just hope it doesn't involve another ceremonial blade. You hear it before you see it. A low, rhythmic chant, steady as a heartbeat, weaving its way through the trees and across the plaza. You follow the sound instinctively, like a moth drawn to torchlight or a tourist to free samples. A group of villagers is gathering at the base of a towering pyramid. Temple 4, the tallest in the city. It rises like a stone claw above the jungle, its steep steps catching the sun like rows of ancient teeth. Someone turns to you with a wide grin and says, "We're going to touch the sun." You laugh. They don't. Apparently, it's tradition to climb the temple before midday and greet the gods at the summit. And not just climb. climb barefoot. The steps are steep, so steep that even your thighs groan in protest just looking at them. They're uneven too, some as narrow as your foot, others high enough to qualify as hostile architecture. You consider declining, politely, firmly, possibly in a different language. But someone hands you a bundle of incense and says, they're waiting. You're not sure who they are, but you're climbing anyway. The stone is hot under your feet, warmed by hours of tropical sun. Your fingers clutch the edges of the ancient steps like you're holding on to your last shred of modern dignity. Halfway up, your calves start drafting a formal complaint. By 3/4 of the way, you're convinced this pyramid was designed by someone who hated knees. You pause, panting, drenched, and vaguely certain you've just aged 3 years. Someone below yells, "Don't stop, or the gods will think you're afraid." You mutter, "The gods can come down here and carry me then." But you make it, somehow. At the top, you're greeted by a sweeping view of the endless green canopy, broken only by other temples poking through like ancient stone islands in a jungle sea. It's breathtaking. Literally, because you're still out of breath. The wind is stronger here, cooler, as if the sky itself is offering a reward. A priest steps forward, holding a bowl of burning copal and a folded cloth covered in glyphs. He doesn't speak, just gestures to the rising sun and closes his eyes. You follow suit. The ritual is silent. Not because there are no words, but because words aren't needed. The sun crests the top of the jungle, spilling golden light across your face. The priest fans the smoke upward. It curls toward the sky like a question too ancient to be answered. A hummingbird buzzes past. Someone softly sings a line. You can't catch the meaning, but it hangs in the air like dew on spider silk. You stand there, sweaty and stunned, and for a moment you understand. Not the language, not the science, but the why. Why build high places? Why climb? Why reach? The ceremony ends with a bow. Not to each other, but to the earth below. You turn to descend, but the steps suddenly seem twice as steep going down. You crouch, shuffle, possibly whimper. A local kid passes you effortlessly while chewing a mango and whistling. He doesn't even look smug. You wish you had better shoes or a parachute. Back at the bottom, someone hands you water infused with chaya leaves and cacao bark. You drink like it's the elixir of life. It tastes like bitter tea and leafy regret, but it revives you. A woman pats your shoulder. "You climbed well," she says. You glance back at the temple. "Did I?" you ask. She grins. "You didn't fall. That's more than some can say." You limp away from the temple, feeling like both a hero and a hamstring injury waiting to happen. Your toes are coated in dust. Your heart is still somewhere near the top step. And your soul, well, it's trying to make sense of what just happened. Because climbing that pyramid wasn't just a hike. It was a conversation with the sun. And like most good conversations, it left you changed. You sit beneath a palm tree, watching clouds drift like ancient ships. A child offers you a slice of roasted plantain wrapped in corn leaf. You accept, chewing slowly. The chant still lingers in your ears. You won't remember all the glyphs, or every priest's name, or how the smoke curled just so, but you'll remember the feeling of standing high above a world you barely understand, and feeling like, for just a second, you belonged there.
You're still trying to wipe temple dust off your shins when a sharply dressed man, or at least his version of sharply dressed, which involves an embroidered cotton tunic and sandals made of grace, taps you on the shoulder. He nods toward a smaller stone building near the edge of the plaza. Its entrance is flanked by glyphs and fluted columns, and kids about half your size are filing in with expressions of either dread or genius. Hard to tell. "You're late for class," the man says. You blink. You didn't know you were enrolled. He raises an eyebrow. "All children of the court must attend." You try to protest, but I'm not. He's already gone. Welcome to the Maya Royal Academy, where education is not optional. Students are descendants of kings, and the curriculum is designed to prepare 8-year-olds for public office, priesthood, or celestial calculations, ideally all three before lunch. You step inside and instantly feel underqualified. The classroom is carved from stone, but cool and well lit. A large obsidian board dominates one wall, etched with glyphs that shimmer in the dappled sunlight. Kids sit cross-legged on woven mats, their posture unshakable, their attention razor-sharp. You're offered a mat. You take it and immediately sit with the kind of casual slouch that screams, "This one's not from here." A girl beside you, maybe 9, glances over and whispers, "Don't worry, they won't make you recite the whole Popol Vuh on your first day." You were not worried about that. Now you are. The teacher enters, a stoic man with silver-threaded hair and a gaze that could straighten a bent spear. He holds a wooden pointer and a scroll, and without a word, he begins the lesson. It's not arithmetic, it's not grammar, it's cosmology, and you are lost within 15 seconds. He speaks of the 3 levels of existence: the underworld, Xibalba, the human world, and the celestial realm, each interconnected through sacred trees, smoke, blood, and time. He unrolls a scroll showing a 5-headed serpent eating a calendar, and the kids all nod thoughtfully. You think about cereal mascots. Next comes astronomy. He draws the movements of Venus in glowing mineral powder. One of the boys calculates the exact number of days until its next cycle ends. You clap, thinking it's appropriate. No one else claps. This is not a clapping school. Then comes math. And here's the kicker. It's base 20 again. You're handed a set of pebbles and conch shells and told to calculate the long count date for today. The kid next to you solves it in under a minute. You've accidentally made a crude representation of a turtle eating beans. The teacher sighs. Very creative. At break time, the students gather outside to play a game that resembles chess, but with glyphs, mythological creatures, and a set of rules that appear to change every 3 moves. A girl triumphantly announces she's just won by invoking the second Jaguar rule. You smile. You don't understand anything, but you smile. Back inside, it's time for oratory. Each student must stand and recite a short speech on a chosen deity. A boy no taller than your elbow delivers a compelling monologue about Chak, the rain god, complete with metaphors and at least one thunder imitation. You're asked to go next. You freeze. Then you remember something. A name from earlier. A god mentioned during the sun ceremony. So you stand, clear your throat and say, "I would like to speak about Itzamna." There's a pause, then a collective nod. Encouragement. You ramble for 2 minutes about the sun, pyramids, the feeling of being up high, and something that might have been poetry if it wasn't held together by panic and sweat. You sit down. There's silence. Then, a single polite cough from the teacher. That was heartfelt. You take it as a win. By the time class ends, your brain is a melted cacao bar. The students file out with their tablets and scrolls and dignity. You stay behind, slumped, trying to process how a civilization thousands of years ago had education systems that make modern standardized tests look like a group hug. The teacher approaches you. "You did well," he says, handing you a smooth pebble carved with a tiny glyph. "What's this?" you ask. "Your lesson for the day. It means humility." Of course it does. Outside, the sun is lower in the sky. A warm breeze dances through the plaza. A few of your classmates run by, laughing, arguing about which star god is stronger in battle. You hear one say, "Only someone born under an Ikde would think that." You're not sure if it's an insult. You kind of hope it is. It means they noticed you. As you sit beneath a thatched awning, sipping bitter cacao, you realize you survived a day in Maya school. Not thrived, not graduated, but survived. And really that's more than you could say about algebra. You're still trying to wipe temple dust off your shins when a sharply dressed man, or at least his version of sharply dressed, which involves an embroidered cotton tunic and sandals made of grace, taps you on the shoulder. He nods toward a smaller stone building near the edge of the plaza. Its entrance is flanked by glyphs and fluted columns, and kids about half your size are filing in with expressions of either dread or genius. Hard to tell. "You're late for class," the man says. You blink. You didn't know you were enrolled. He raises an eyebrow. "All children of the court must attend." You try to protest. "But I'm not." He's already gone. "Welcome to the Maya Royal Academy, where education is not optional. Students are descendants of kings, and the curriculum is designed to prepare 8-year-olds for public office, priesthood, or celestial calculations, ideally all three before lunch." You step inside and instantly feel underqualified. The classroom is carved from stone, but cool and well lit. A large obsidian board dominates one wall, etched with glyphs that shimmer in the dappled sunlight. Kids sit cross-legged on woven mats, their posture unshakable, their attention razor-sharp. You're offered a mat. You take it and immediately sit with the kind of casual slouch that screams, "This one's not from here." A girl beside you, maybe 9, glances over and whispers, "Don't worry. They won't make you recite the whole Popol Vuh on your first day." You were not worried about that. Now you are. The teacher enters, a stoic man with silver-threaded hair and a gaze that could straighten a bent spear. He holds a wooden pointer and a scroll, and without a word, he begins the lesson. It's not arithmetic, it's not grammar, it's cosmology, and you are lost within 15 seconds. He speaks of the 3 levels of existence: the underworld, Sibalba, the human world, and the celestial realm, each interconnected through sacred trees, smoke, blood, and time. He unrolls a scroll showing a 5-headed serpent eating a calendar, and the kids all nod thoughtfully. You think about cereal mascots. Next comes astronomy. He draws the movements of Venus in glowing mineral powder. One of the boys calculates the exact number of days until its next cycle ends. You clap, thinking it's appropriate. No one else claps. This is not a clapping school. Then comes math. And here's the kicker. It's base 20 again. You're handed a set of pebbles and conch shells and told to calculate the long count date for today. The kid next to you solves it in under a minute. You've accidentally made a crude representation of a turtle eating beans. The teacher sighs. Very creative. At break time, the students gather outside to play a game that resembles chess, but with glyphs, mythological creatures, and a set of rules that appear to change every 3 moves. A girl triumphantly announces she's just won by invoking the second Jaguar rule. You smile. You don't understand anything. But you smile. Back inside, it's time for oratory. Each student must stand and recite a short speech on a chosen deity. A boy no taller than your elbow delivers a compelling monologue about Chak, the rain god, complete with metaphors and at least one thunder imitation. You're asked to go next. You freeze. Then you remember something. A name from earlier, a god mentioned during the sun ceremony. So you stand, clear your throat and say, "I would like to speak about Insomnia." There's a pause. Then a collective nod. Encouragement. You ramble for 2 minutes about the sun, pyramids, the feeling of being up high, and something that might have been poetry if it wasn't held together by panic and sweat. You sit down. There's silence. Then, a single polite cough from the teacher. That was heartfelt. You take it as a win.
By the time class ends, your brain is a melted cacao bar. The students file out with their tablets and scrolls in dignity. You stay behind, slumped, trying to process how a civilization thousands of years ago had education systems that make modern standardized tests look like a group hug. The teacher approaches you. "You did well," he says, handing you a smooth pebble carved with a tiny glyph. "What's this?" you ask. "Your lesson for the day. It means humility." Of course it does. Outside, the sun is lower in the sky. A warm breeze dances through the plaza. A few of your classmates run by, laughing, arguing about which star god is stronger in battle. You hear one say, "Only someone born under an Eek day would think that." You're not sure if it's an insult. You kind of hope it is. It means they noticed you. As you sit beneath a thatched awning, sipping bitter cacao, you realize you survived a day in Maya school. Not thrived, not graduated, but survived. And really, that's more than you could say about algebra. The morning mist hasn't lifted yet when you're woken by a sound you've come to recognize, the low, bone-deep thrum of drums. You stretch. Every muscle reminds you it climbed a pyramid yesterday. Your calves stage a quiet protest. Your shoulders whisper of betrayal. Still, you rise. Because today, you've been summoned to the ball court. And while no one's explicitly said you'll be playing, they also haven't said you won't be. Which is troubling. The ball court is massive, not in height. It's sunken, flanked by 2 high stone walls, but in weight. You feel it. Like the arena itself is watching. Glyphs line the walls. Warriors in mid-motion, serpents coiled like thoughts, gods with outstretched arms. At the center of each wall, a stone hoop, set high above the ground, impossibly small. You've played basketball. This is not basketball. This, your guide says solemnly, is pok-ta-pok. He says it the way someone might say war or destiny or surprise root canal. 2 teams are gathering at either end of the court, stretching, tightening belts made of thick cloth, tapping their elbows and knees like sacred instruments. They wear no shoes, but they do wear armor, thick pads wrapped around their hips, thighs, and forearms. Not for protection, for control. Because in this game, you don't kick or throw the ball. You hit it with your body. And the ball, it's solid rubber, heavy, dense, capable of bruising your ego and several ribs at once. You're invited to step onto the court. For blessing, they say. You hesitate. Then you realize everyone is watching. So you step forward. The players raise their hands in greeting. The referee, a priest in feathered robes, hands you a small pouch of ground copal. You scatter it at the court's center. A puff of sweet smoke rises. You're told this offering honors Hun Hunapu, a mythic hero who once played ball with the gods of death. Did he win, you ask? Your guide winces. Eventually, the game begins. The ball hits the ground with a thwack so sharp, your knees flinch out of reflex. One player lunges, turns his hip into it, and sends it soaring, not toward the goal, but to keep it in motion. Fluid, alive, it bounces, swerves. Another player twists midair and strikes it with his shoulder. You blink. You've just seen physics cry. The crowd begins to cheer. Not shout, chant. Low syllables in rhythm with the ball's pace. It's not a sport here. It's liturgy, a moving prayer in rubber and sweat. You watch, transfixed. Then someone scores. Sort of. The ball hits the side wall, bounces in an arc, and lands squarely through the narrow hoop. An impossible shot. For a moment, all is still. Then the crowd erupts. But not in cheers, in ritual response. They chant a phrase you don't recognize, and the players raise their hands to the sky. The referee steps forward, a horn sounds, the game ends, just like that. Wait, you say, confused. 1 point and it's over. Your guide shrugs. Sometimes, depends on the omen. You stare at the players, panting, glistening, exalted. Their faces say what words don't. This wasn't for fun. This was a reenactment of myth. And, historically speaking, sometimes. The losing team didn't walk away. You inch backward. A young player approaches, offering you the ball. You touch it. It's hot from motion, heavier than you expected. You lift it, barely. You want me to try? He nods. You glance at the hoop. You wind up, swing. You miss by a generous 5 feet. He smiles. You have the heart of a maze god, he says kindly. You're pretty sure it's the Maya version of nice try, tourist. As the crowd disperses, you sit beneath a saber tree, the world tree they call it, watching the players wrap their knees, laugh, pour water over their heads. They're warriors, priests, athletes, and possibly minor deities in disguise. You sip a gourd of cool posel, a maize and cacao drink so thick you could mortar bricks with it, and exhale. Because while you didn't die in the arena today, you did gain something. A glimpse into a world where sport is sacred. Pain is part of prayer, and the gods play hard. Night doesn't fall in the Maya city. It arrives, slowly, ceremonially, like a god entering a room. The last rays of sunlight bleed gold across the temple stones. Smoke rises in thin trails from hearths and incense bowls. Children retreat indoors. Priests emerge. You've been invited to a celestial vigil. The words sound gentle, almost comforting. They are not. You're led to a hilltop observatory, a circular platform flanked by upright stones carved with glyphs and holes that align perfectly with the stars. Even in the gathering dark, the air shimmers with anticipation. The Venus priest greets you. He's tall, robed in deep blue, his hair twisted into a pattern resembling a serpent's coils. He says nothing at first, just nods at the sky. You look up. There she is. Venus, radiant and sharp, rising just above the horizon like a blade dipped in moonlight. You're told tonight is a conjunction, a rare one. Venus and the crescent moon in perfect alignment. A message, the priest murmurs. You don't ask from whom. The vigil begins with silence. The priest kneels on a mat woven with constellations. Around him, apprentices arrange bowls of copal, charcoal, flower petals, and a bowl of water so still it reflects the stars like glass. They begin to chant, soft syllables rolling like water over stones. You don't understand the words, but you understand the rhythm. It's the rhythm of waiting, of listening, of not being the most important thing in the universe for once. You're handed a strip of bark paper. On it, glyphs drawn in black ink. The priest explains in a low whisper that this is a divinatory chart, a record of your birth sign, your Tzolk'in day, and tonight's celestial pattern. You scan the glyphs. They seem to shimmer. One looks like a jaguar with wings. Another like a maize kernel splitting open. You ask what it means. The priest smiles. It means, don't build anything important this week. Fair. The moon climbs higher. Venus glows brighter. Then the priest begins to speak. Not to the crowd, not to you, but to the stars themselves. He tells a story. How Venus is the twin of the sun, always chasing, sometimes leading, sometimes hiding. How each of her cycles marks war, peace, drought, harvest. How kings once refused to wage war until she appeared again, as if even death had to wait its turn. You glance at her, that piercing little jewel in the night. You get it. She doesn't blink. She commands. The apprentices lift bowls of copal. Smoke curls into the air like questions too bold for words. The priest writes glyphs in the ash. Each symbol a timestamp, a celestial coordinate, a warning. You're told that the Maya calendar, yes, that calendar, doesn't predict the end of the world. It remembers it, because for them, time is a loop, not a line. It doesn't move forward, it returns. And your life? It's just one note in a cosmic song played over and over, each time slightly different. Your heart feels a little too big in your chest. Your skin tingles as if the stars are brushing against it. You remember what the daykeeper said about time being a snake eating its tail. You think about all the times you felt out of place. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you were just early, or late, or circling back around. A soft bell rings. The ceremony ends. The priest gives you a final gift. A smooth, flat stone etched with your night sign. You trace it with your thumb. You don't recognize the symbol, but you feel its weight. You're not sure what it means, but you know it's yours. As you walk back through the city, torches flickering, you see others watching the sky. An old woman on her stoop, 2 children lying flat on their backs, a man with a basket, pausing to tilt his head skyward. No one owns the stars, but here, everyone remembers their names. You lie down on a woven mat, look up. Venus is still there. So is the moon. And suddenly, you feel small in the best way. Insignificant and beloved. Like a story the sky keeps telling because it's too beautiful not to. The morning comes quietly, not with birdsong or temple bells, but with drums, low, steady, distant, a heartbeat heard through stone. You open your eyes to grey light. The city is hushed in the usual chatter of morning. Vendors calling, children arguing over who gets the best corn cake, is gone. Even the dogs seem to sense it. Today, no one is laughing. Because today is a funeral. A man approaches you, cloaked in white cotton dyed with ashes. He doesn't speak, just gestures. You follow him. Past shuttered homes and veiled doorways. Through a narrow street lined with black banners, strips of bark paper swaying in the wind, each marked with the glyph for departure. Your guide stops at a wide-open courtyard, and there, at the center of it all, lies the body. It's the elder of the East Wind. You don't know his real name. No one says it now. It's tradition. Names are for the living. His body is wrapped in red cloth, embroidered with stars and maize. On his chest, a jade bead. In his hands, a small flat stone. His feet are dusted with cacao powder, so he'll walk sweetly into the next world. You want to bow, or speak, or apologize for intruding. But you don't. You just watch. The family circles him. Daughters, sons, apprentices, old friends. Each takes a turn placing something on or near the body. A feather, a clay pot filled with water, a shell, a broken spindle. None of it is random. Each object is a message, whispered through touch. Each item says, "We remember what you did and why it mattered." You're handed a flower, white with a yellow center and a scent like earth after rain. You place it near the elder's foot. No one says thank you, but no one needs to. The priest begins a chant, not in grief, but in instruction. He speaks directly to the elder. Walk the black road with open eyes. Pass through the jaws of the earth. Do not speak unless asked. Do not drink until offered. Follow the serpent, not the bird. You shiver, and it's not the wind. Two men lift the body, gently. They begin the slow procession to the cremation altar outside the city's edge, followed by the crowd, the drums, the smoke. You walk too. Everyone does. Because death here is not private, it's shared, witnessed, told like a story that refuses to end on a period. At the altar, the fire is already lit. It doesn't roar, it sighs. The body is placed onto the stone bed, covered in more cloth, and then the priest anoints it with honey, lime juice, and something that smells like burning flowers. Someone begins to weep. Someone else begins to sing. It's not a hymn. It's a memory, set to a rhythm only this family knows. You close your eyes, and you understand. This isn't a goodbye. It's a handoff. The fire takes hold. The wind shifts. The crowd steps back. The priest lifts a clay bowl, scoops a pinch of ash, and lets it scatter into the air. Back to smoke, he says. Back to breath. You watch the sky. A small flock of birds arcs over the trees, silent, silhouetted against the rising sun. You don't know if the elder's soul is among them. You don't need to, because in this place, death isn't the opposite of life. It's just the opposite of forgetting. Back in the city, a feast is laid out. Not in joy, in honor. You eat tamales wrapped in red-dyed leaves. You sip thick atol sweetened with agave. You sit beside strangers and talk about a man you never met. And you feel like you knew him anyway. Because here, memory is communal, like time, like grief, like fire. As the day fades, you return to your mat. The scent of wood smoke clings to your skin. You stare at the ceiling, then at the stars beyond it. And for the first time, death doesn't feel frightening. It feels familiar. A bend in the path, a room you haven't entered yet, a story you're still part of. The morning comes quietly, not with birdsong or temple bells, but with drums, low, steady, distant, a heartbeat heard through stone. You open your eyes to grey light. The city is hushed in the usual chatter of morning. Vendors calling, children arguing over who gets the best corn cake, is gone. Even the dogs seem to sense it. Today, no one is laughing. Because today is a funeral. A man approaches you, cloaked in white cotton dyed with ashes. He doesn't speak, just gestures. You follow him. Past shuttered homes and veiled doorways. Through a narrow street lined with black banners, strips of bark paper swaying in the wind, each marked with the glyph for departure. Your guide stops at a wide-open courtyard, and there, at the center of it all, lies the body. It's the elder of the East Wind. You don't know his real name. No one says it now. It's tradition. Names are for the living. His body is wrapped in red cloth, embroidered with stars and maize. On his chest, a jade bead. In his hands, a small flat stone. His feet are dusted with cacao powder, so he'll walk sweetly into the next world. You want to bow, or speak, or apologize for intruding. But you don't. You just watch. The family circles him. Daughters, sons, apprentices, old friends. Each takes a turn placing something on or near the body. A feather, a clay pot filled with water, a shell, a broken spindle. None of it is random. Each object is a message, whispered through touch. Each item says, "We remember what you did and why it mattered." You're handed a flower, white with a yellow center and a scent like earth after rain. You place it near the elder's foot. No one says thank you, but no one needs to. The priest begins a chant, not in grief, but in instruction. He speaks directly to the elder. Walk the black road with open eyes. Pass through the jaws of the earth. Do not speak unless asked. Do not drink until offered. Follow the serpent, not the bird. You shiver, and it's not the wind. Two men lift the body, gently. They begin the slow procession to the cremation altar outside the city's edge, followed by the crowd, the drums, the smoke. You walk too. Everyone does. Because death here is not private, it's shared, witnessed, told like a story that refuses to end on a period. At the altar, the fire is already lit. It doesn't roar, it sighs. The body is placed onto the stone bed, covered in more cloth, and then the priest anoints it with honey, lime juice, and something that smells like burning flowers. Someone begins to weep. Someone else begins to sing. It's not a hymn. It's a memory, set to a rhythm only this family knows. You close your eyes, and you understand. This isn't a goodbye. It's a handoff. The fire takes hold. The wind shifts, the crowd steps back. The priest lifts a clay bowl, scoops a pinch of ash, and lets it scatter into the air. Back to smoke, he says. Back to breath. You watch the sky. A small flock of birds arcs over the trees, silent, silhouetted against the rising sun. You don't know if the elder's soul is among them. You don't need to, because in this place, death isn't the opposite of life. It's just the opposite of forgetting. Back in the city, a feast is laid out. Not in joy, in honor. You eat tamales wrapped in red-dyed leaves. You sip thick atol sweetened with agave. You sit beside strangers and talk about a man you never met. And you feel like you knew him anyway. Because here, memory is communal, like time, like grief, like fire. As the day fades, you return to your mat. The scent of wood smoke clings to your skin. You stare at the ceiling, then at the stars beyond it. And for the first time, death doesn't feel frightening. It feels familiar. A bend in the path, a room you haven't entered yet, a story you're still part of. The jungle is silver this morning. Mist clings to the trees like cobwebs spun from moonlight, and your breath puffs visibly in the cooler air. Surprising for a place that usually feels like the inside of a clay oven. A boy wakes you with a polite cough and the gift of a tamale wrapped in fresh banana leaf. You unwrap it carefully, like it might contain treasure. It does. Beans, chilies, something that tastes like sunrise if sunrise were spicy. You eat in silence, because today you're going to meet the timekeepers. They call it the House of Many Circles. It's not a temple, it's a workshop. Carved into the side of a limestone hill, its entrance marked by a wheel of glyphs and two jaguar heads facing east and west. You step inside and immediately feel the weight of something ancient and precise, like walking into a grandfather clock made of stone and stars. The air smells of chalk, ink, and patience. And in the center of it all is the calendar. The jungle is silver this morning. Mist clings to the trees like cobwebs spun from moonlight, and your breath puffs visibly in the cooler air. Surprising for a place that usually feels like the inside of a clay oven. A boy wakes you with a polite cough and the gift of a tamale wrapped in fresh banana leaf. You unwrap it carefully, like it might contain treasure. It does. Beans, chilies, something that tastes like sunrise if sunrise were spicy. You eat in silence. Because today, you're going to meet the timekeepers. They call it the House of Many Circles. It's not a temple. It's a workshop, carved into the side of a limestone hill, its entrance marked by a wheel of glyphs and two jaguar heads facing east and west. You step inside and immediately feel the weight of something ancient and precise, like walking into a grandfather clock made of stone and stars. The air smells of chalk, ink, and patience. And in the center of it all is the calendar. Not one calendar, three, all turning, interlocking, overlapping like gears in a machine that doesn't just mark time, it shapes it. Your guide gestures. This one is the Tzolkin, 260 days, sacred days, names, numbers, destiny. You squint. The glyphs swirl in dizzying patterns. Each day has a personality, apparently, a meaning, a tone. And this is the Harb, he says, pointing to a larger, more orderly circle. The solar year, 365 days, the rhythm of the earth. It feels familiar, almost comfortable. And then, this, he says softly, is the long count. It doesn't move. It just waits. A sequence of numbers and glyphs carved into a stone slab, stacked like stairs to somewhere far beyond your comprehension. This counts from the beginning, your guide explains. Not a beginning, the one, when time was made. You ask what date that was. He smiled. August 11th, 3114 BCE, give or take a Tuesday. You blink. That's weirdly specific. He nods. We had good math. You're invited to sit. In front of you, a block of soft clay, a stylus, and a strip of bark paper with your birth date written in Maya glyphs. Your actual modern birth date. Someone must have asked. Or guessed. You're not sure which is more impressive. A scribe with ink-stained hands examines the glyphs, then looks at you like someone checking the expiration date on a sacred avocado. You were born on 3 Khan, 12 pop, he says. Then frowns. Then checks again. Then frowns harder. Is that bad? You ask. He hesitates. It's unusual. He leans over to another scribe. They whisper. You catch phrases like overlap, mirror day, false twin, and the deeply concerning, we've only seen this twice before. You raise a hand politely. Should I be worried? They glance at you, then at your date, then back at the spinning glyph wheels. And finally, the elder scribe speaks. You might be a time echo. You blink. What now? They explain, gently, and with the calmness of people very used to strange things being normal. That sometimes, rarely, a person is born under a set of conditions so symmetrical, so misaligned, that they don't quite fit the usual pattern. You exist, the scribe says, at a seam. A crack, you ask. He winces. We prefer hinge. What does this mean? They're not sure. Possibly that your life will repeat. Possibly that you've lived before. Possibly that you're the glitch in time's perfect rhythm, like a syncopated drum beat the universe decided to leave in for flavor. Some call it a blessing, your guide adds. Some call it annoying. You laugh. No one else does. To mark the discovery, they invite you to press your palm into wet clay, a tradition for timekeepers with unusual charts. You do. It feels warm, alive. The clay pulls slightly at your skin as if it recognizes something. You leave behind your mark. They'll fire it in a kiln, place it with the others. A wall of palms, a timeline made of hands. Some of the prints, they tell you, predate the pyramids. You swallow. It's a lot. As you leave, the youngest scribe presses something into your palm, a disc made of polished obsidian etched with a spiral on one side and a single dot on the other. For remembering, he says. What? He shrugs. Whichever time you're in. Outside, the sun is higher now. The jungle breathes, birds call, and you find yourself walking a little slower. Not because you're tired, but because you're starting to realize. Time doesn't pass here. It weaves. And you? You're just a thread. But maybe a strangely shaped, accidentally magical one. The air thickens as the sun slides westward. It's not just the heat, though, yes, your tunic now clings to you like a needy octopus. It's something heavier, like the world is inhaling, getting ready to say something important. You follow a narrow path of crushed white shell that leads you into a shaded courtyard. There's no sign above the doorway, but you know exactly where you are. This is the mask house, where the Maya make faces for the dead. Inside, the light is dim, but the walls gleam. Dozens, no hundreds of faces stare back at you. Some are carved from jade, others from clay, wood, shell, obsidian. All different, all still, all waiting. None are smiling. A woman in a red sash greets you. She's small, quiet, eyes the color of tree bark and twice as unreadable. This is the place where souls get dressed, she says. You believe her. Immediately, you're shown the process. First, a rough clay mold of the person's face is made shortly after death. While the skin is still warm, the features still theirs. Then the artisans interpret that mold into something eternal. Not a portrait. A translation. Because the gods, it seems, don't recognize the faces we wear in life. They recognize the ones we're meant to wear. You ask how they know what that is. The woman shrugs. Sometimes the hands just know. You pass a table where an apprentice chips away at a small slab of jade. The mask forming under his fingers looks serene, powerful. Who is it for? You ask. He glances up. A scribe. She laughed too loud, so he made her lips fuller. You're not sure if he's joking. He doesn't blink. Then, the woman guides you to a quiet room in the back. There's a stool, a mirror, a small basin of water, and a single question written on bark paper in charcoal glyphs. Which face will carry you forward? You're told to sit, to wash your face, to think, and to choose. You stare into the mirror. It's a face you know. Sort of. It's tired, curious, slightly burned from yesterday's olive oil mishap. Thanks, ancient Greece. But is it you? If someone had to carve your truth into stone, would they use your real cheekbones? Would they keep that mole? Would they erase the asymmetry that's always bothered you? Or lean into it? The woman returns and places 3 unfinished masks on the table before you. One is smooth, blank, and utterly neutral. A perfect oval. Serene, beautiful, devoid. The second is exaggerated. Wide eyes, flared nostrils, a laugh carved permanently into the lips. Wild, chaotic, alive. The third, it looks familiar. You blink. It's your own face. But older, more worn, not tired, just used. Like a favorite book read 100 times, you're told to choose which face will be your eternal one. The one you'd wear into the next world. The one by which the gods, and perhaps your ancestors, will know you. You hesitate. You look again at the mirror, then back at the masks. And suddenly, it's clear. Not which one is prettiest, not which one is strongest, but which one is true. You reach out and pick up the third. The woman nods, not in approval, but in recognition. You've worn it well, she says, then hands you a lump of soft clay. Now, make someone else's. You blink. I don't know how. She smiles. You will. The hands know. You sit beside the others and begin to press the clay between your fingers. At first it resists, but then a cheekbone forms, a brow, a dimple you didn't expect. It's not a face you've seen before. And yet, somehow you know it. It's someone not yet dead. Maybe not yet born. Maybe someone you'll be one day. The thought gives you chills. Or maybe it's just the breeze from the courtyard, whispering through the masks. As the sun disappears behind the trees, the room grows warm with torchlight and quiet humming. Every artisan is still working, shaping memory, identity, and myth into something you can hold. And you realize, here, death is not a loss. It's a continuation, a passage through a door where someone is waiting with a mirror, a bowl of water, and a mask that already fits. You're asleep, or at least you think you are. There's that warm, floaty feeling like your mind is a leaf drifting on some slow river and your body has forgotten what weight is. Then, knocking, sharp, urgent, rhythmic, not on your door exactly, more like in your chest. You sit up. It's still dark. Still that Maya night, thick and humming. But someone's outside, and they're waiting. You open the door to a woman you haven't seen before. She's wrapped in a shawl the color of ashes after a storm, and her eyes, well, they don't quite match. One is dark as wet bark, the other milky, like moonlit quartz. She speaks softly. It's time. You blink. Time for what? She tilts her head. To meet your name. You follow, barefoot, torchless. Only the sound of your feet brushing against the stone path and the occasional rustle in the underbrush keeps you tethered to the real. You pass temples that now seem asleep, statues that appear different in the dark, like they're holding in laughter or secrets. You pass a tree where someone's hung offerings, feathers, shells, a comb, a small child's drawing on bark paper. You pass your own reflection in a puddle. But the face doesn't quite look like yours. You keep walking. Eventually you arrive at the mouth of a cave. It doesn't yawn open. It doesn't beckon. It just waits. The woman lights a torch now, just one. Its light is dimmer than it should be. Or maybe the darkness here is just thicker than light can handle. She turns to you. In the old world, she says, names were not given. They were remembered. You nod, mostly to be polite. She continues, some are born with a name, some must find it, and some must survive it. You duck inside. The cave walls are warm and wet, like the inside of a sleeping animal. The floor slopes downward in slow spirals, and every so often, a glyph glows faintly on the stone, not painted, not carved, growing. You pass one that resembles an eye inside a spiral, another that looks like a jaguar's paw inside a fish's mouth, and another that makes your stomach twist because it looks like you. Finally, you enter a chamber, circular, silent. In the center, a pool of still water, and hanging above it, a large disc of jade suspended by cords, slowly turning. The woman gestures for you to sit at the edge. You do. She hands you a small stone cup. The liquid inside is bitter, earthy, and makes your tongue tingle like it's just heard a good secret. Then she says, look into the water. Say your name. You hesitate, then whisper it. Your real name. The one on your ID. The one your parents said with love. The one teachers mispronounced. The one you've typed 1,000 times. Sometimes proudly, sometimes like a shrug. The water doesn't react. But something inside you does. It's like a thread pulls loose in your chest. Not painful, just unsettling. The jade disc above you begins to spin faster. The reflection in the water shifts. It's still you, but not. Older, younger, wearing clothes you've never owned, smiling in a way you've never dared. You see version after version of yourself. Laughing, crying, painted, scarred, dancing, fighting, sleeping beneath stars that don't exist yet. And then stillness. Just one face. Yours. But not the one you use. The one you were meant to grow into. The woman kneels beside you. She whispers a word. It's not in any language you know, but it feels true. It rolls through you like warm thunder. That's your name, not the one you answer to, the one your soul remembers. You say it out loud, once, twice. It fits, like a key. You look at the woman. Am I still me? She smiles. Yes, but more so now. When you leave the cave, the sky is beginning to pale. The stars fade slowly, like guests slipping out of a quiet party. Birds start singing, low and soft, like they too remember the name you just learned. You touch your chest, half expecting to feel something glowing there. There's nothing, and yet you feel seen by the world, by yourself, by the version of you that never stopped waiting to be named. You return to your mat. Lie down. Close your eyes. And as you drift into sleep, one thought loops gently through your mind. Names are not given. They are reclaimed. The dawn is soft. Golden light filters through palm fronds, dappling the path like a mosaic laid by the sun itself. You wake to the sound of gentle sweeping. A woman cleaning the courtyard with a bundle of stiff grass. The rhythm is comforting, but then you notice the shadow. Long, still, out of place. It doesn't belong to the woman, or the broom, or anything living. It belongs to a statue. And the moment your eyes land on it, it notices you back. It's a stone figure you hadn't seen before, mostly because it wasn't there yesterday. Twice your height, carved from volcanic rock, weather-worn but powerful. Her face half serene, half furious, arms crossed over its chest, eyes closed. The glyphs at its base are fresh. Too fresh, as if someone cleaned them recently. You step closer and find a map, not a full one. More like a fragment, etched faintly into the stone base, just beneath the statue's feet. It shows the courtyard, your mat, the surrounding buildings, and then a line. A thin spiral leading away, marked by a strange symbol. A sun pierced through the center by a vertical dagger. Someone whispers beside you. It's the boy who brought you breakfast yesterday. That's the path to the heart of the day. You blink. What's that? He shrugs. Something they buried because they were scared to destroy it. You're handed a small clay knife. Not sharp, decorative almost, but when you touch it, it hums, faintly, like it remembers being used, like it's still waiting. You're told, follow the map. Dig when the shadow lines up with the moonstone. What moonstone? They point, a circle of white rock embedded into the courtyard floor, gleaming faintly. When the statue's shadow touches it, that's your cue. You wait. The morning passes slowly. You sit, eat a mango, listen to birds argue in the canopy above. The courtyard is peaceful, but it feels aware now, like every leaf and pebble is holding its breath. Then, the shadow touches the stone. Exactly. You stand. You walk to the spot just beside the statue's base, where the spiral on the map ends, and you begin to dig. The earth gives more easily than it should. Layer by layer, soft clay and small stones part beneath your hands. After only a few minutes, your fingers touch something smooth. You dig faster. Eventually, you reveal a sealed jar. Thick, round, its lid covered in waxy pitch. The glyphs on it pulse faintly in the light, though that may just be the sweat in your eyes. You lift it. It's warm, like it's been breathing underground this whole time. You bring it to the elders. Their faces go still. One of them whispers, "We weren't sure it would ever be found." Another, "We weren't sure it should be." They open it. Inside, a stone, no bigger than your palm, smooth, circular, radiating heat like it's been left in the sun, except it hasn't seen daylight in generations. On its surface, a glyph. Kin, the sun, but upside down. You're told the story. Hundreds of years ago, during a long drought, a group of astronomer priests believed the sun had turned against them, that each day was no longer a gift, but a threat. So they tried to trap the spirit of the sun, not the star in the sky, but the part of the day that remembers you, the one that knows your name. They carved a representation of its heart. They buried it and prayed it wouldn't be found again. Until now. The elders debate. Some think the heart should be broken. Others think it must be returned to the top of the temple where it was meant to live. You're not sure why, but they ask you to decide. Not because you're wise, because you're misaligned. Remember? A hinge, a thread, a time echo. You're not part of the calendar, so maybe you're not bound by its fears. You don't choose right away. Instead, you hold the stone. It's warm, yes, but also strangely calming, like it's glad to be seen again. You ask, what happens if we return it? An elder shrugs. The days might remember us better, or worse, or not at all. You ask, and if we destroy it? They say nothing, but everyone steps back slightly. You carry it to the temple steps, climb. The wind rises as you reach the top. You place the heart at the summit, the very center of the platform, between two carved pillars shaped like open mouths. The wind stops. Everything stops, and for a moment, just a moment, you hear a voice, not in your ear, in your shadow. It says, "Thank you for not forgetting." Then it's gone. You descend. The elders nod. Some look relieved, others uneasy. But no one argues. Later that evening, the clouds part, and for the first time in days, the sun sets in absolute silence. No drums, no prayers, no rituals, just the color gold, bleeding into night, as if the day is finally content to end without being feared. You sleep that night with the jar under your bed, now empty, just in case. And in your dreams, the sky has eyes, but they're gentle, and they blink. The air is thick with spice and memory. You wake not to sunlight, but to scent. Warm corn, roasted cacao, something smoky sweet that clings to your nostrils like an old song. A woman stands over you, holding a small clay bowl. Inside, a dark paste, rich, fragrant. You don't need to taste it to know. It's chocolate, but not the kind you know. This is bitter, earthy, meant to be drunk, not eaten. "Come," she says. "Tonight, the ancestors arrive. We must cook." You sit up, rubbing sleep from your eyes, and try to remember how to cook for the dead. The kitchen is not a room. It's a courtyard, enclosed by low walls, lit by fire, crowded with pots and stones and baskets of maize. The ground is dark with ash, and the air sings with sizzling heat. Elders work silently, grinding, stirring, crushing, pouring, each movement careful, like they're handling memories. No recipes, no instructions, just remembering. And you? You're handed a bundle of herbs and a challenge. Cook what you dreamt. You hesitate, because last night your dream wasn't a recipe. It was a memory of your grandmother's kitchen, of rice simmering in broth, of garlic popping in oil, of laughter echoing from a small radio left on too long. You try to recall the taste, not just flavor, but feeling. So you begin. You boil maize, pounding it into dough with your fists. You mix in crushed seeds and wild honey. Add chili, add cacao. Then stop, smell, adjust. It's wrong, too sweet, too modern. You scoop out half, toss in roasted squash, a pinch of lime, a dash of regret. Still wrong. So you try again. This time, your hands lead. Not your mouth, not your mind, just memory. By nightfall, the courtyard fills with dishes, stews, tamales, grilled fruits, spiced drinks, all arranged on a stone table beneath an archway of marigolds and candles. The scent is unbelievable. But this isn't dinner, it's an invitation, a way of saying, we remember you. Please, visit. No one speaks, no one eats. You all sit in silence, waiting. Then, one by one, they arrive. Not with footsteps, not with sound, just a shift in the air, like the temperature drops, like the shadows lean in, like someone is watching kindly, quietly, from the doorway you forgot to close. The elders nod. They begin to speak aloud, telling stories, names, laughing at jokes no one's told in a century. You whisper yours, the name you reclaimed in the cave, and the smell of your dish intensifies. Someone, something tastes it, not with lips, but with recognition. And in that moment, you feel a warmth bloom behind your ribs. Someone you've never met just smiled and forgave you. For forgetting them, you're given a bowl, not to eat, to listen, because here, food remembers. And the bowl whispers as you hold it, a voice gentle and raspy. You remembered the lime. You blink, tears sting. You hadn't meant to, but your hands knew. Later that night, as the candles burn low and the stars watch without blinking, the table is cleared, not by hands, by absence. The food is gone, not entirely, just lessened, touched. You sleep beneath a sky that smells of cinnamon and smoke, and for the first time in days, your dreams are quiet, not empty, just satisfied. And somewhere, someone says, next year, bring the salt earlier. You smile in your sleep. You're walking through a forest that leans inward. Branches curve over the narrow path like ribs, filtering the moonlight into rippling patterns on the ground. Somewhere above, a bird calls once and doesn't repeat itself. The air is damp, charged, as if even the insects are whispering tonight. Your guide is silent, old, stooped, wearing a robe the color of moss. He carries a small obsidian disc in one hand, smooth as water, darker than thought. You're not sure if you're following him or being led by the object he holds. Eventually, the trees thin. You step into a clearing. At its center, a tower. Not tall, but older than anything you've seen here. Made of stone, stacked without mortar, worn smooth by time and rain and the slow attention of lichen. It doesn't rise above the canopy. It waits inside it. This is the Chak Sokib, he says, the seeing mouth, a place where the Maya watch the stars and the tears in them. Inside, it's cool and round. The walls are lined with tiny niches, each holding smooth stones carved with glyphs. One is shaped like a fish, biting its own tail. Another is a hand holding an eye. You walk the spiral ramp upward. It grows darker, narrower, until you reach the chamber. It's open to the sky, just a round circle, a hole where the stars spill in, and beneath it, a shallow basin of water. The guide gestures to it. You may look. You kneel, peer into the basin. At first, it's just your reflection, then the sky, then both, then something else. You see a path, a real one. You've walked it. Recently, it loops and climbs and vanishes. You see a face. Not yours, not quite, but familiar. An old man writing symbols on bark paper. A woman grinding pigment into stone. A child, barefoot, laughing, hiding something in the roots of a tree. They all look at you and whisper, "You're late." Then comes the shift. The image ripples, and you see moments not from this life. You see a night in a city made of glass. You see a hand holding a weapon you've never touched but somehow know. You see yourself, older, younger, sideways, shouting a name you haven't learned yet. And above it all, a tear in the sky, thin, pale, flickering like heat over asphalt. A hole not in the heavens, but in meaning. The guide speaks. The Maya did not only watch the sun or the stars. They watched for errors in the story. You ask, what kind of errors? He shrugs. Ones we call déjà vu. Ghosts that appear before they die, a crack in the moon that heals and disappears by morning. You ask if these are real. He smiles. Real enough that we recorded them. He shows you a stone. It's black, flat, but when the moonlight hits it, glyphs glow across its surface. You touch it, it's cold, and suddenly you hear a voice. Yours, saying something you've never said, but will. One day. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe in another lifetime. The guide places the obsidian disc into the basin, and the reflection shows one final image. You, standing in the tower. But someone else is behind you. Not a threat, not a ghost, just you again. Wearing different clothes, different expression, holding the stone like they remember this night already happened. And they nod, like a secret passed backward through time. Then the image fades. The basin goes still. You sit in silence for a long time, maybe minutes, maybe longer. And the guide says, you do not need to understand, only to carry it forward. He presses the obsidian disc into your hands. It will not show you what was true, only what wanted to be. As you leave the tower, the jungle seems quieter, the stars seem closer, and for the first time, time feels porous. Like maybe, just maybe, you'll walk this path again someday. From the other side, the wind is restless, not wild, not loud, just aware. It weaves through trees like it's looking for something. It touches your skin like it knows your name, not the one on paper, but the one whispered to firelight and old stone. When you return to the village, everything is quiet, too quiet. And that's when you realize the people are gone, not vanished, just gathered. A boy appears beside you, barefoot and calm. He doesn't say hello, doesn't ask where you've been, just says, "It's the ninth wind." You nod like you understand. You don't. He points to the hill at the edge of the village, one you'd barely noticed before. It's small, covered in white stones, and tonight 100 tiny lights flicker up its path. Everyone is going, he says, to meet themselves. You walk. The path winds gently, lanterns flickering in small niches carved into the earth. You pass others going the same direction, elders with flower crowns, children carrying bones painted gold, lovers holding hands but not speaking. Everyone is barefoot, everyone is carrying something. You look down, you're holding the obsidian disc, the one from the tower. It's cool, heavy, still, like a promise that hasn't been made yet. At the top of the hill, a circle of standing stones, each about the height of your shoulder, worn smooth by rain and time. They form a loose ring, enclosing a single fire, low and blue, like it's been burning for centuries and has no interest in impressing anyone. A man greets you. His robe is red, his hair woven with tiny bones, his eyes clouded but steady. He gestures to the fire. "Tonight," he says, "you will speak with the version of you who never finished this journey." You blink. "What if I don't know what to say?" He smiles, not unkindly. "Then listen. They may speak first." You sit across from the flame, and for a long while, nothing happens. No visions, no ghosts, just the fire, the wind, the sound of your own breath echoing inside your chest. Then you arrive. Not a clone, not a hallucination, not quite a memory either. A version of you. eyes a little dimmer, posture a little tighter, wearing clothes you once owned but no longer recognize. They look at you like you've just returned from a trip they were too scared to take. You don't say anything at first. You wait. Finally, they ask, "Did you find it?" You say, "I think so." They nod. Then, "Was it worth it?" And that question breaks something open in you, because you don't answer immediately, because you feel the weight of what it cost. The dirt, the mistakes, the sunburns, the clay masks, the almost giving ups. And after all that, you still say, "Yes." Then it's your turn. You ask, "What do you regret most?" They don't flinch. They say, "Not beginning sooner." Then, "Not believing I was allowed to." You offer them the obsidian disc. They take it, hold it, breathe. And as they do, something changes. They stand. They're not lighter, not glowing, but something about their spine uncoils. Like maybe, just maybe, they'll keep walking now, even if you never see it. You ask one last question. "If we meet again," they finish the sentence for you, "we'll recognize each other." And with that, they turn, walk into the fire, and vanish. Not burned, just absorbed. You sit alone again, but you don't feel lonely. The wind picks up, not frantic, not furious, just full of breath, of names, of versions. You stand. At the edge of the hill, the sun is just beginning to rise. You whisper your promise, not to gods or stars, but to yourself. "Next time, I'll trust earlier." And somehow, you know, it's already been heard. Morning arrives in silence. No drums, no chants. Just the hush of leaves soaked in dew and the slow awakening of the world beneath mist. You walk alone now. Not because you've been abandoned, because this part was always meant to be solitary. The trees arch overhead, dripping silver droplets into your path. The fog clings to your skin like silk dipped in memory. Every step feels soft, distant, like you're walking through someone else's dream. Maybe you are. The path narrows, twists, becomes less a trail and more an invitation. You pass stones carved in spiral patterns, barely visible through the moss. You pass a tree with hundreds of feathers tied to its branches. You pass a hollow in the earth where something once waited and may still be waiting. Eventually, you see it. A lake, perfectly still, circular, so smooth it seems like the earth has grown an eye and is now watching the sky. This is the Xibalba Ha, the sacred water. A place the Maya believed was not just a lake, but a threshold. You're not alone here. There is no figure, no being, just presence. You feel it before you see anything, in the tightness behind your eyes, in the echo beneath your ribs. And then, from the mist above the water, comes a single voice, not male, not female, not even human, just aware. It speaks. One question. You've known this was coming. You were told. One question, that's all. You kneel at the water's edge and think about what you've learned, about what you've forgotten, about the name you reclaimed, the versions of yourself you've met, in dreams, in firelight, in silence. You think of questions like, what happens after this life? What is my true purpose? Was any of this real? But none of them feel quite right. Until you ask, what part of me will survive all this? The lake stays silent for a long time. So long, you begin to wonder if it will answer at all. Then, the surface ripples, and in the center of the lake, a single image appears. A hand, your hand, but aged, scarred, steady, strong in the way only something that's broken and healed can be. It's reaching out, not for help, not in fear, but to guide. Then the voice returns. software firmware now, the part that remembers. You blink, the image fades, the lake stills, and though the water hasn't moved, you feel like it just let go of something, like a knot inside you has been untied without you noticing. You rise and realize your feet are dry. Somehow, without stepping in, you've already crossed. As you leave the shore, the fog begins to lift, not vanish, just lighten, as if it knows you've seen what you came to see. And maybe that you're carrying part of it with you now. You don't know if you'll return, but you don't need to, because something from here now lives in you. A voice, a stillness, a memory that remembers you back. You return to the village. But it's changed. Not the buildings. They still lean, made of stone and thatch. Still worn by hands you'll never meet. Not the people. They still smile with tired eyes and laughter carved deep by sunlight. Number, what's different is you. And they see it. They don't greet you with words. Just gentle nods, hands over hearts, a space cleared by quiet acknowledgement. You've been to the edge. Now it's time to leave something behind. The center of the village is alive. Smoke curls from low fires. Incense swirls in patterns that seem too deliberate to be random. Children run between offerings laid on the ground. Bundles of maize, carvings of animals, bits of woven cloth shaped like suns. At the heart of it all, a basket, woven from reeds, ordinary, unassuming, but it hums with meaning. One by one, people approach it. Each holds something small, a tool, a shell, a bit of thread, and places it in the basket. Then they turn and walk away. You ask someone what's happening. They say, it's the farewell of echoes, a leaving ceremony. We offer what kept us from changing. You swallow, hard. You reach into your pouch, your robe, your thoughts. What do you have worth offering? What weight have you carried since the beginning? You think about the obsidian disc, but that's not yours to surrender anymore. It's part of you. So you search deeper, and your fingers brush something at the bottom of your satchel. A wrinkled cloth, soft, faded, familiar. The first thing you were given when you arrived. A square of fabric with your name in a language you couldn't read. You remember clutching it like a lifeline on the first night. Sleeping with it beneath your head, using it to dry your hands, to tie bundles, to belong. It's comfort. It's identity. It's fear pretending to be safety. You hold it to your chest one last time and let it go. The basket receives it. No fanfare, no smoke, just a soft rustle, like leaves settling. You feel nothing, then everything. Your back straightens, your breath deepens. The world shifts one half step forward. You didn't just give up a cloth. You gave up the version of you who needed it. The sun is low now. People gather for the final part of the rite. A figure stands on a small rise. Not a priest, not a chief, just a traveler. Not from here. Just like you. They're leaving, and before they go, they do something unusual. They don't thank anyone. They bless everyone. With a whisper, with a touch to the forehead, with a memory they pass like a stone warmed in the fire. When they reach you, they pause. Then, softly, "You're not finished yet." You nod. You already knew. As the traveler disappears down the road out of the village, the people sing. Not loud, not solemn, just, sure, you can't understand the words, but you feel the shape of them. Leave gently, but leave. The sky turns gold, then purple, and you realize you've already begun to forget what you looked like before all this. And that's not sad. That's evolution. That night, you sleep beneath stars so clear they feel closer than your own breath. You dream of an empty basket and hands hundreds of hands. Letting go, not because they were told to, because they were ready. You wake up early, not because someone calls you, not because there's noise, but because something inside you rises before the sun does. And this time, there's no confusion. You don't wonder where you are. You don't feel out of place. You know the sounds. The low rumble of morning fire, the gentle sweep of brooms over stone, the call of birds who've never once needed to be named. You're still here. But you're not a visitor anymore. Today is not about you leaving. Today is about someone arriving. A young boy, or maybe a girl, or maybe someone beyond all that. Small, alert, blinking at the brightness like the world's too loud to look at all at once. They're holding a satchel too big for their shoulders. Wearing clothes that don't quite fit. Eyes wide with the kind of wonder that's part awe, part fear, part what have I gotten myself into? You see yourself in them because you've been them. And now, it's your turn. They're brought to you. Not as a guest, but as a student. You sit on a woven mat beside the fire, and you tell them the first words that matter. This is not a place, it's a memory that you live through. They blink, then smile, then sit, and you begin to speak. Not as the one who just arrived, not as the one who's leaving, but as the one who remembers. You tell them about the barley bread that broke your jaw, about the oil baths that turned you into a slippery pretzel of cultural confusion, about the obsidian disc that whispered truths not yet lived. You tell them about the face in the fire, the lake that answered, the version of you who stayed behind just long enough to be found. You don't make it dramatic. You make it real, like breath, like weather, like sleep. And as you speak, others gather, not to judge, just to listen. Because that's the tradition now. The newcomer listens to someone who once didn't last a day, and somehow stayed forever. And just before your voice fades with the morning breeze, you lean forward, look the newcomer in the eyes, and whisper, "You'll be fine, but probably not at first." They laugh. It's the same sound you made once. It's the sound of becoming. Later, as the sky softens into dusk, someone places a feather in your hair. You ask why. They say, it's your turn to stay. And you do. Not to build temples, not to guide ceremonies, just to wait and to tell. Because memory is not passed in books here. It's passed by staying long enough to say, I was there, I saw it, and you will too. The stars blink into view. The fires settle. The wind curls gently around your ankles, like an old friend laying down to rest. And for the first time, you close your eyes not to escape, but to remember again. Because this isn't the end of the story, it's just the first time you've told it.